Welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder.
And
this week,
we don't know what we're doing here. We have the review of the week.
We are talking, well, we have review of the week, yeah.
Yeah, so we have review of the week. And then we got a fun show for you today, folks.
Oh, this is a new, we're kind of crossing over into some fun topics.
Yeah, so I am going to read a review from Horses Are My Passion, 805.
Aww.
And she says, this podcast has answered so many of my questions and let me know it's okay to drink coffee. Can't function without it. I hear you, girl. And have a drink every once in a while. These women are truly amazing. And, kind of that's what we are about. We want to make sure that people know that, life is normal. It is my mission now.
Breastfeed.
I swear, when I do classes and everything now, my mission is to really try to instill the fact that breastfeeding is just another part of your life. Things don't need to stop. Things don't need to change. Things don't need, crazy. This should be just, you had a baby, now you're breastfeeding, and, we move along from that. It doesn't have to be something that's so out of the ordinary that we need to, put it in this little plastic box and treat it differently. That's not what this is about.
But there's entities out there that want you to believe that it is too hard for you to do.
Right.
And that you have to quit your normal life and then all of that. But you don't. It's not true. Don't give them the power. You have the power.
You do have the power. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today.
It is. And I love talking about things like this, about, the female experience, the breastfeeding experience in America and how it relates to kind of the female experience, a woman's experience.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be talking about rules. All of these invisible kind of rules around us that are breastfeeding related, and they're ultimately designed to control us.
We don't even realize it. We don't even realize it.
No. I know. And one of the things that's really popular in the online breastfeeding world, kind of, you can see it a lot on my page, and I have some memes like this. Is my very first meme I ever did. And it says, if you say, I support breastfeeding, but then you don't really support breastfeeding.
Exactly.
And so in that line, fill in that space. You can fill in that space with whatever you want. I support breastfeeding, but as long as it's not beyond 6 months, as long as you use a cover, as long as you don't do that in front of my husband, as long as you stay home, as long as you pump and put it in a bottle.
Right.
You can feel, there's all kinds of things that people are saying that you need to do about breastfeeding. And when it's really all ultimately about controlling your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It's just keeping you in your place, keeping you quiet. We don't want women out there thinking that their bodies can actually give life. That would just, your head will get too big if you start believing that. That you can actually grow life and sustain life with your body.
It is maddening to me when I see those, especially with the, breastfeeding in public thing, and people will put, well, I was a breastfeeding mother too. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if you're in public, I don't know why you have to do that. It's nobody can even say the words. They call it that. Why are you doing that in public? Why are you letting people see you do that? That is private. That should be a private thing. That is not something that you should be. It's this.
Yeah.
Why?
I was always modest when I did it.
Who cares?
Yeah. What does that mean? Modesty is subjective.
Exactly.
What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything except to the person who's saying the word. And my idea of modesty is not being completely naked in public, because that would be illegal.
Right.
I mean, I wear a string bikini to the beach. Call me immodest. I don't care. It's just a body.
Right.
And it's 98 degrees. What do you want me to do?
But nobody's going to say anything about that.
No, nobody would say anything to me at the beach.
No,
I would be celebrated at the beach. This is one of the, when we met at the Breastfeeding and Feminism conference a couple of years ago, that was what I was talking about. Was there's a ton of rules that you're supposed to follow when you're a non-breastfeeding woman. You're supposed to be sexy, and you're supposed to be, putting your boobs on display, and you're supposed to look a certain way. And I was, I subscribe to that to a T. I mean, I lived through that. And I, you know, then, and I, you know, nobody ever complained about seeing my boobs. People loved seeing my boobs. And I could tell that people loved seeing my boobs. And so I showed my boobs. You know, not the nipple, because that's illegal. But,
right.
Because that's the pornographic part, right?
Oh,
but
yeah,
then I had a baby. And then suddenly, oh my God, Abby, your boobs. Oh my God, cover up. Oh my gosh, you're so out there. Oh, you're just looking for attention. What? Oh my gosh, I never heard any of this before. And the only thing that's different is that my boobs are actually being used for what nature intended them to be used. And I'm not knocking the sexual purpose of boobs, because I love that too. You know, I think that's great. You know, but these rules that we put in place to control women, it's what we're doing is we're trying to keep women in a box, and we're trying to make sure that we remain primarily sexual, primarily for the pleasure of men.
Right.
How dare you start to think that your body could actually be used for, you know, things that are more powerful than anybody.
And I remember you saying at that conference, you were like, and this really, you know, was great because it is very powerful. You were like, nobody ever told me to cover up before.
No way.
You know, like, and if you think about that, you know, and I was one of those, you know, women too, where before you have kids and you're young and you're out there and you're at the beach or you're wherever and you wear something low cut and you do it, you know, nobody is telling you to cover up. They're clapping for you. Right.
They're whistling at you. You're getting all of this super positive reinforcement. Mm-hmm. Like, whoa, I'm doing this right. Okay, right. Look, everybody's looking. Okay, that's what's supposed to happen, right?
And that's the sexual aspect of our world. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And babies don't belong there. You know, like,
right.
Add a baby to that, and people are mortified. They're mortified. This is what your body is for. People don't like to hear that. And I've had moms that have even said to me, I'm not going to put the baby right to the breast because these belong to my husband. So that's for him. That's a different mindset. You know, like that is definitely a different mindset, and that comes from a different place. And
I don't think that is a very common mindset. I mean, we do have this idea that, I mean, we're raised to believe that the female body is for the pleasure of men.
Right.
And then when we do get into a relationship, we also are conditioned to believe that when a female gets into a relationship with a man, obviously this gets more complicated when you have a female in a relationship with a female or a male and a male. Mm-hmm. But, you know, as two middle-class white women who are married to men, we can talk about it from our perspective, right. Which is, you know, that when you get into this relationship and you have some sort of idea that they have a say. You know, this kind of thing, you know, this idea of like, oh, you're going to wear that. Oh, you're not wearing that. That's too, you know. I mean, my husband's like the complete opposite. He's like, aren't you going to wear that? That one's shorter. You should wear that.
I know.
But, you know, and then I had a woman who not that long ago on the page was saying that I don't remember how I was in touch with her, but she said that she wanted to breastfeed for, you know, a certain amount of time, and she was like, I'm thankful that my husband, how'd she say it? She said, I'm thankful that my husband is allowing me to do that. And I was like, I'm so glad that she has a partner that's supportive of breastfeeding, but the way it was worded was like, well, like he was part of the decision,
right.
You know? And like, why? It's like the breastfeeding relationship is between the baby and the owner of the boobs that the baby is sucking on. Mm-hmm. And those are the people who are involved. And it doesn't really, you know, and I get it that people are like, oh, but my partner is really involved, and like I know I like to listen to them. That's great. You should have an open dialogue with your partner, and they should be able to say what they're, you know. I mean, my husband was, you know, when I first said like I'm going to let Jack, you know, wean on his own, and that could be all the way till like 7 years old. At first, he was kind of like, what? He was like, really? Oh, you know, but. and that's fine. He was allowed to express himself. That's fine. But he ultimately was not a part of the decision.
Right.
That was for me to make, me and Jack to make together. And that's another thing that I think is really hard for people to swallow, is that, our bodies belong to us. Because it's so much of this, that we, in our culture, we so much don't own our bodies, right? It's so much like everybody's got a piece of us. Mm-hmm. And, ultimately these are our bodies, and what happens with our bodies is up to us.
Right. And that's,
and end of story.
That's something that you really have to I feel like anyway, I had to learn that.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of that was almost generational. Like even now, and I'm a fan of tattoos. I have lots of them. Started getting them when I was younger. Most of them are hidden. The only ones you can see are very small ones, and that maybe only you can see them if I'm wearing shorts or something and I have one on my ankle or whatever, like one on my foot, like sandal weather type thing. But all the rest of them are hidden. And I remember my mother being like, oh, well, isn't Tom going to not like it if you get another tattoo? Or isn't that? And I'm like, I don't care. Like, what? But
who asked Tom?
I know. Like, it's, and I would always kind of be like, do you care if I do this? And he's like, no, just don't put one on your boobs. That's what he used to always tell me, too. Like, just don't put one on your boobs. I don't care what you do. But other than that,
But ultimately, if you wanted a tattoo on your boobs, there would be a tattoo on your boobs because your boobs do not belong to Tom.
Right. And the only reason why I would ever even say anything was because I was just kind of being respectful. But ultimately, it's my decision. But I remember anything that had to do with my body, my mom being like, well, what about your husband? Did you, like, I don't care. Like, what? I don't care. This is my body. I get to make these choices. Whether they're wrong choices or right choices, they're mine. I get to make these choices. But you really, you have to, I felt like I really needed to learn that and become strong with that and become confident with that because, when I was growing up, like doctors said something, you did it. They, anything that happened and that was it. And you really felt like your body did not belong to you.
Absolutely. And there are, we talk about, yes. And we talk about these breastfeeding rules, but I mean, before you're a breastfeeder, before I was a breastfeeder, I was following all these rules too. I didn't know that. I didn't know I was following rules, these invisible rules. I got like positive reinforcement from my environment for doing certain things. And so what is that? What happens when you get positive reinforcement? You do it, you keep doing it, right? That's the whole basis of like telling a dog to sit and give him a treat.
Right.
It's like you have to be, you have to be sexy. You have to have your boobs on display. You have to, wear a lot of makeup. You have to be kind of like flirty. You have to, you have to do it. You can't be fat. You can't be, there's all of these, there's all of these rules, and it's ultimately you put these people. I mean, we are put into these boxes, these impossible boxes, because everybody has a different body shape, because everybody feels sexual differently, and the rules are absolutely impossible to follow, and it's proof that the people that can follow those rules to a T have been photoshopped.
Oh my God. And that was something
there
I
is
didn't realize
nobody
either.
Who's walking around. I know. There's nobody walking around that actually looks the way that you're supposed to look.
Right.
And we have emotional problems because of it. We have body image issues. We have mental health issues among, women that are, that have absolutely skyrocketed because of this. And, so again, these rules are so damaging. And then you become a mom and you become a breastfeeder, and it really kind of explodes all of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, it would just my eyes were opened, to it. And I just thought, oh my God. And there's still, again, it's my body and I can do what I want, and I'll still put my boobs on display sometimes because I think it's fun.
Right. Me too.
But I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want to do, or I cannot do it. It's my body. And
what I don't
that's
like,
the end of it.
What gets me really going a lot of the times too is the hypocrisy of, like, look at any magazine cover. If you walk into wherever you would see magazines, bookstore, wherever, grocery store, and and I just noticed this recently because I was actually looking for a magazine for a friend who was traveling. She was taking a long plane ride, so I was getting her some magazines to read on the plane. And every, like, fitness, shape, like, all of those that are geared towards women have these amazing-looking women on the front cover, very, you know, little clothing, some kind of, like you said, photoshopped perfect body, probably, like, every month. That is the same every month. They just rotate what woman is going to be on the front of that magazine.
Right. It's it's a formula.
There's probably maybe 5 times, if that even, in my life that I can remember a breastfeeding mother or a new mother being on the front cover of a magazine. And people freaked out. People freaked out. They did.
And you could, and this was like going to be a whole other episode, and it will be.
Yeah.
But you see this now as like these you know, models or actresses or whatever who post breastfeeding pictures of themselves on social media or on the cover of magazines, and the absolute chaos.
Oh my God, people go crazy.
I'm going nuts. Oh my God, how can you be doing that? You know, and this person who's always been this kind of sexual icon. Mm-hmm. Breastfeeding a baby, people, it confuses people. It
right.
It challenges everything that they've ever kind of thought about this person or have thought about this whole entire sex of people, and you know, they just suffer. They suffer a lot of criticism for it.
It makes them human. You know, It makes them human. It makes them nurturers, and there is nothing wrong with that. But like you said,
you can't fetishize them.
Right.
You can't,
You can't make them that person anymore that's on the front of that magazine cover, you know, before they ever had kids, and who is on your doing whatever sex act in whatever movie. Like, you can't, now they're breastfeeding a baby. And that is, people don't want to know that that's happening in the world.
Right. And God forbid they still look sexy doing it. Because she will go through hell.
Right.
You know, she maybe she has, oh my God. I read too many comments on the internet. But you can, I mean, it's just like, oh my God, she's sexualizing breastfeeding. Why? Because you think she's sexy? That's your problem.
Because she looks good?
Because she looks the way she looks.
Right.
And you think that's sexy. That's your opinion, your problem. You know, or I really wanted to save this for that other episode, but
we'll talk about it then too.
There was that, there was that woman recently who was the pumping, who had the pumping photo.
Oh yes, yeah. Oh my God, it's on the tip of my tongue. I'll think of it.
I know.
Rachel. I can't remember the last name now. Rachel something. Yeah.
McAdams.
Yep, it was Rachel McAdams. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so this is how. It's how much Dianne and I are up on the stars these days. But I was reading about her, and comments people were making about her. They were saying that she was sexualizing pumping, that she was, that she's ultimately doing breastfeeding women, breastfeeders and pumpers, and, people a disservice because the way she was sitting was sexual, and the way that the look on her face was pornified. And, oh, my God.
First of all, can you sexualize pumping? Is that a thing? I don't think that's even a thing. Like, I don't know how anybody could ever make pumping a sexual thing.
Sexual, these things are personal. I mean, like,
right.
If I'm walking down the street and somebody thinks that I'm sexualizing walking down the street because I'm sexy, that's your problem.
Right. Exactly.
I am not responsible for your reaction to what I'm doing.
No.
I can do whatever I want. And you, however you react, is your problem. It's this whole she's asking for it thing.
Right.
Give me a break. And it's not true. She wasn't raped because she was wearing a short skirt. It's not her fault.
No. And this, again, that's another thing that's about power. This is about control and power. And people want to control. You want to pump, you should be hiding in your house, behind a door, behind a curtain, where nobody can see you. That's
or you're somehow just supposed to look like you were hit by a train or something, which most people who are pumping look like they were hit by a train, and that's fine. That's how it feels when you have a new baby, and this is just how it feels. But then somebody kind of steps outside of that. Anybody who's stepping outside of anything or challenging anything suffers so much criticism and so much hate and so much.
But you know what? And they're like the resentful. We all know it goes back to being resentful for whatever reason. A lot of it does. But if you look at her personally, yes, I loved that picture. I thought it was amazing because to me, it was like, here is a mother who went back to work, like however many percentage, I don't even know the percentage of women that go back to work when they're still breastfeeding, they have a young baby, they go back to work and they have to integrate breastfeeding and pumping into their work day. That is not an easy thing to do, number one. Number two, for somebody at the level of stardom where you are maybe away from your baby for 12, 18 hours or maybe days or weeks at a time on a set, or you are under somebody else's rules and regulations. You are under this stigma of who you are supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. Good for her for putting it out there, because really it's like, I would not want to be that at all. And it's kind of like how, like the many times we've talked about Princess Kate, how she walks out of the hospital, she has a baby, she walks out of the hospital in heels and a white dress and looking perfect.
I guarantee you she didn't want to be doing that.
Who wants to be that? Who wants to be that? Right. That's too hard. No. That's too much pressure. I don't want to be Rachel McAdams on a movie set pumping. Come on.
Right. No, I know it's ultimately not fun. And I think that I liked what you said when you were saying, like, good for her for putting it out there, because she looked awesome.
She did.
She looks the way that we all should feel. Mm-hmm. The way that when we're doing this. I mean, when you go back to work and you're pumping, you are incredible. I mean, that is an incredible thing to do. Breastfeeding is an incredible thing to do. And the world is going to do everything that it can to make you feel horrible, to make you feel like, you're ugly and you're too fat because you're carrying around the extra baby weight, that you're, then that you're doing the breastfeeding wrong, and that all these rules are going to come crashing down upon you. And, we have this person who put this out here. And I love that she put it out there because, now, I mean, if I was a pumper, I would have that in my head every single time.
Oh, yeah.
I'd sit in that position. I'd get that fierce look on my face, no matter what I looked like.
Yep, absolutely.
And I would just be like, I'm awesome.
Yep. She is just providing for her baby like everybody else wants to do.
Yeah, and she looks cool doing it, and everybody's like, can't handle it.
Right. I mean, it's just, it's crazy.
But it's all of this chaos. Ugh. Yeah, it all stems from this desire to control women and to control their behavior and to make sure we don't step out of line, which makes me want to step out of line.
Right. It is. I love it when I have families that are from different countries where, and I had one most recently, I don't know, it was a little while ago, but the family was from, I want to say Barbados. I can't even remember, but the dad was like, this is just what you do. Like, how is anybody having any kind of problem with this? This is just what happens. Like, because in other cultures, it is what happens. In other cultures, like, and you see, pictures and movies and stuff like this all the time, and there's lots of communities where women don't even wear shirts half the time. That's just their norm. And this is a part of way that you nurture and feed your child. It has nothing to do with sex. And it's just, this is what happened in our society. Somewhere along the way, we got, catapulted into this other place where we pretend how the babies grow and nourish, and we don't want to know any part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We want to keep women in a box.
Yeah. Keep them in a box. Keep them all pretty.
Yeah. And which just makes me think that they must be really scared of us.
Right? I know.
I mean, if they're that afraid of us, that all of these rules have to come, there's so much chaos around it, and it's so controversial. Just the body itself, the female body itself is so controversial. I mean, if it's that bad, then there must be some serious fear.
I know. I mean, it's just, fear and insecurity and, Yeah.
Hatred.
Yeah. Hatred. Control. It is. We're the, weaker sex. Whatever.
Right. But obvious. But I think that there's,
We know.
I think there's a fear that maybe we're the stronger.
Oh, yeah. We are.
And this is so not over. This episode is over, but this conversation is not over. No. And I would love it if you guys would join in on the conversation too.
Yeah.
And send us messages or whatever. Go to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com and you can reach out to us there and be a part of the conversation. We can even read comments in the podcast and keep going on with this of people's opinions about it.
Yeah, because this is some really cool stuff, and I know I've got stuff in my history that I've heard and seen, and that has to do with a lot of this, and I love to be able to voice that, and I know you have that too, and it's the more you learn. I wish that I had learned more about this before I had my kids, and even when I had just had them, I wish I had really known more to really defend myself against a lot of this, because it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening. And please share your experience in the review section on iTunes, and maybe you will be our review of the week. And you can head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com for our sponsor links, our promo codes, all of our other episodes, our resources list, and you can get information about how to schedule your online consultation with Dianne.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.